Okay. Welcome. I'm Langston. Welcome to the Nonverbal Nomads. We have a lot to discuss today.
We have a lot to discuss.
My guests today are Sine and Stephanie, and a special mention to our production team, Aisha and Noah.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here today.
Hello. Hello, my name is Stephanie. I'm really excited to be here.
The big topic today that we're going to be talking about is nonverbal communication between different genders worldwide, as there are a lot of social cues and communication barriers that everyone has everywhere. Today, this podcast is dedicated to going over and discussing all of these differences. What made you guys personally want to explore this topic in a podcast?
Well, we wanted to educate people on different cultural norms in a nonverbal way through our own experiences as well as the experiences of other cultures.
We think a podcast is the easiest way to engage an audience as people can go back and listen to this discussion and learn about how nonverbal communication is different in every part of the world.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. Our goal is to educate students, communication scholars, and travelers, especially on the different ways people communicate non-verbally before traveling to another country.
Yes, and we're glad to bring awareness to that.
Very good. How has your own personal experience been with nonverbal communication inside and outside of this country?
Well, my parents were born and raised in Eritrea, a country in East Africa. A key difference I've noticed is in the way we greet each other. Similarly to the Chinese bow, Eritreans will lower their head in acknowledgement and or greeting when passing by another Eritrean. This is pretty different from the US, where we normally just wave hello. So yeah, I know. I think it would be hilarious to watch people's reactions if I bowed to people all day in the US.
That's a really good point. Grow up, Growing up in the US, I personally was too accustomed to the typical head nod between men and the waves for everyone else. And I was completely taken aback when I visited Italy over the summer and I saw friends kissing each other in order to greet one another.
Well, I was born and raised in Colombia, so I could differentiate physical distance when I moved to the United States. In the Latino culture, body contact is very high. So, for example, body contact in Latino culture include hugging and kissing on the cheek as a sign of greeting or farewell between women and men. It's pretty normal, but when I learned that if you do that in physical contact with someone else here, it can be linked to sexual harassment.
Well, with that being said, today we'll be speaking about a very interesting topic, as we'll be discussing heteronormativity and all the stereotypes that come with that. First, let's define what heteronormativity is. It's for those who may not know it.
Sure. According to Gendered Lives, our textbook, heteronormativity is the idea that couples that are opposing genders are normal, whereas same-sex couples are not.
That's the perfect way to define the term.
Yeah. Beginning with your experience in the US, how would you compare the heteronormative experience with the US out of the country? Are there any differing stereotypes you've seen?
In some ways, I would say that the degree of heteronormative supremacy is less in the United States in comparison to other countries. June 26, 2015 was a historic day in the US history when the Supreme Court announced their decision to legalize same sex. It was a major step in equalizing the playing field across different sexualities. Other countries seem content in their traditional preferences of representation. Many African countries, including Eritrea, continue to uphold their gender norms and they promote heterosexual imagery. As much as I enjoy Nollywood movies, it's clear the emphasis or goal isn't sexual inclusivity. The focus is on male-female relationships and stereotypical male-female roles most of the time. This contrasts from modern-day American shows or films, which seem to always cast a LGBTQ member, minority, a disabled person, and another marginalized social group as a baseline lineup of actors.
I think this is a very great point to bring up. It does seem that the United States has a very long way to go in terms of LGBT equity. Stephanie, do you have any additional thoughts?
Well, when I think about heteronormativity, it suggests that heterosexuality is the normal, preferred, superior form of sexuality. So, Worldwide suggests that the male is so strong and superior, and also think that can bring some nonverbal communications about how male should behave in society. I would definitely like to bring an example that can be seen worldwide about male in ballet. There is a misconception that dance is just for girls, which implies that ballet is soft, gentle, and weak. Therefore, often boys or males that have preference in dancing are seen as a weak and too feminine, homosexual, and spoiled. So there are male dancers that are facing bullying off stage and heteronormativity on stage. I believe that there might be some nonverbal movement and characteristics such as the dress code that may think that ballet is too feminine. Ballet has historically been heteronormative art form, but I think there are male dancers that are breaking that stereotypes. For example, Carlos Acosta, who is from Cuba, he came from Cuba where were meant to be very typical when men are seen very typical masculine. Despite the strong culture, dance isn't seen as a masculine career. He has won many prizes around the world, and he's also welcoming more boys and males to join this ballet dancing around the world.
Is there an example of heteronormativity within gendered nonverbal communication that you would like to share, Sine?
Yes, I could definitely say the Disney movie Lightyear. There was a scene in which one of the main characters is married to a woman and they share a quick kiss. This caused controversy, leading to the movie being banned entirely in Middle Eastern countries, or at least the scene being removed. According to the Straits Times, which is based in Singapore, it still aired the movie, but with a NC-16 rating. This means that only people aged 16 and up can watch.
I remember this controversy a while back. Parents were upset. They didn't want little kids to see such a scene, but the scene only lasted for a few seconds. I think the scene in the movie was powerful as people, especially young kids, can see that there are other couples beside the typical male-female relationship, and there are other ways to show love.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Stephanie. Growing up, we always saw heterosexual couples as the norm, whether in our own cultures or even here in the States.
In what ways do you think heteronormativity in foreign cultures could be challenged through a nonverbal lens?
Well, speaking of the film Lightyear, many countries in the Middle East banned the movie due to cultural religious difference on LGBTQ matters. However, Morocco has actually advocated for the film to air.
Really? Tell us more about it.
According to Express English, Morocco aired the movie last June in cinemas such as Cinetal and Megarama aired the film despite the backlash.
This was a great conversation. Last time, do you think the same-sex kiss can be seen as controversial?
Yes, I think a same-sex kiss can be seen as controversial depending on where you are. And in some places like France and Italy, it's very common for like a man and a woman to kiss each other on the lips or cheek. While in other countries, this could be looked upon, down upon like really greatly. Like even in the United States, it's not entirely common for someone to be like holding hands, like a same-sex culture to hold hands and everyone just like, just shout get a room or something. Whereas in countries like Uganda, it's even illegal to kiss someone due to the LGBT being criminalized. Any experiences you want to share, Stephanie?
That was really interesting to hear. I don't have any experience, but I can say that a kiss is a form of nonverbal communication of affection, can be seen different in different parts of the world. A kiss can be many different responses, but we can talk about same-sex kiss. It can be controversial for many Western cultures, can be seen wrong due to the cultural and religious beliefs. So for the Buzz Lightyear movie, when same-sex couples show affection, even the most pure and lovely kiss, it is sexualized and treated. If this is seen where heterosexual couple, some countries will never ever think of skipping it because heterosexual couples are given the grace to be intimate without being shamed.
Yes, yes. I feel like this all ties back into colonialism. According to Andrea Smith in 2010, she mentions that the queer theorist Chris Finley advocated that scholars of Native studies include queer theory in her work. She states, while some scholars discuss this status of gender and non-normative people within pre-colonial Native communities, virtually no scholars engage in queer theory. This absence contributes to a heteronormative framing of Native communities.
So, well, thank you, Langston and Nate, for sharing that information with us. Thank you for the audience to listen us. We hope that you have taken valuable information from this episode. We must pay close attention when communicating and relating different cultural contexts and with people from different cultures. Without doubt, we can learn a lot from each communication style. When we visit a new country, we must have the patience to immerse ourselves in the culture. As a consequence of ignorance, we often think people are rude or inattentive to us, but suppose we understand that nonverbal language varies according to culture. In that case, once we know the gestures, symbols, and customs, we will understand that many situations that we take as a personal had a cultural nature and did not imply in the least impoliteness toward us. Thank you, listeners, for listening all the way through.